Have you ever wanted to have the exact process that you know is going to take you to 6 figures and above per year, right? So in this Pajama Bosses TV episode, I will share with you how you create a process to stick to so that you can get to 6 figures faster. So let's get going. Welcome back to Pajama Bosses TV. This is Masha from Pajama Bosses, and in this episode, this is actually the part 3 of the 4-part video series on how to create a 6-figure network marketing business. And if you have watched the other 2 episodes, you probably know that today we're going to talk about the process. In fact, we talk about how before launching into creating a network marketing business, you need to have some preparation, you need to have some planning. And there's a 3-step process to planning. The first one is strategy, the second one is the process, and the third one will be covered in the next video. But if you haven't watched the first 2 videos, which was the introductory video and then the video about creating strategy, then before you actually watch this video about process, go ahead and watch those 2 because it will make a whole lot more sense. But if you've already watched those 2, let's jump right into process, because once you now have a strategy for creating $10,000 per month or more in your network marketing company, and this is what I'd be doing if I would be creating a brand new business right now. The next thing I would do once I have the clarity of the strategy of what it takes to create $10,000, what is the package that I'm promoting, who are the people that I'm targeting, and what rank I need to get them to advance to create that massive duplication, the next thing I'm going to ask myself is how am I going to do that? And that all means like physically, as you're creating those results, how are you doing it? And there's 5 things in a network marketing business that you need to create a process around. There's probably a few minor other things, but these are 5 things that are so important. So the first one here is, of course, prospecting, right? Prospecting and recruiting. So this is an amazing, very, very important part of network marketing. The challenge is a lot of network marketing leaders, when they're first starting out, they confuse this part of the business and they think this is actually 100% of the business. And at best, this is 20% of the business or less. In fact, when I look back to 10 plus years of creating massive teams and organizations around the world in network marketing, prospecting and recruiting was not even 20% of the income that I was creating in my organization. It was, of course, much more to do with the duplication and the teams that I was creating. But still, you need to have a very clear process of how you are prospecting and recruiting, right? So we mentioned that a little bit in the strategy. You have to actually choose the one path. This is so important, when you talk about processes, each of these 5 things that you create a process for, you need to be really clear to create one way of doing it. Not 2, not 3, not 4, just one way. And so when you talk about prospecting and recruiting, you need to ask yourself, what is the one thing that I'm going to do to sponsor people into my business, and how am I going to teach my team to do that as well? Because when they see you do it, if that's how they come into the business, that's how they're going to tend to want to do it as well. So prospecting and recruiting, is that on Facebook? Is that on Instagram? Where do you find people? How do you approach them? What's the script? What are the tools that you use to present the information about your company, business, opportunity, product, services, right? How do you do that? How do you follow up? How do you close? All of those prospecting and recruiting steps, you need to put them in order and create the one way that you're doing that. So the one path for prospecting and recruiting is crucial. The challenge that I see today is there's so many options. Even 10 years ago, we had much fewer options, right? But today, luckily, we have all these amazing technology and platforms that we can turn to literally find thousands and thousands of people instantly. That can also be a challenge. So please don't go for the shiny object syndrome. Make sure you're just doing the one thing and consistently repeating that step after step. So the first thing is prospecting and recruiting. Now let's look at the next thing. That is, of course, the getting started process. Once you have successfully convinced someone to become a team member, the next thing you're going to want to do is get started, right? That means that is the actual transitioning process of somebody signing up in your business and taking the first few steps. And if I had to identify one step in your business that is more important for duplication, this is the getting started process. So make sure you pay real attention. What are the steps that you take when somebody signs up in your business? What do you say to them? How do you set up their expectations? Just creating correct expectations, vaccinating them. What are the things that they have to do instantly in the first hour of the business when they first join? Do they prospect? Do they recruit? Do they write a list of people? Do they actually buy a ticket for the next event? What is the getting started process that you are creating? So really, really important stuff, right? The next thing, after people get started, then you want them to move ahead to the first rank. In the strategy part of the planning process, we talked about the building block rank. And if you have clarity what that is and how to achieve it, that is the next part that you want to really have a process around. And it's really called leadership, right? Leadership development, or you're advancing a brand new person into a leader. So the first step will be, how do you help them to go to the first rank? That's, sometimes a manager, executive, whatever that is called in your business. And you need to have a process of how you do that. So let's just say a part of this is the building block rank that we talked about before. But leadership development is much more. In fact, it talks about, other times in your business. Like, what about when you achieve like the medium rank and the higher rank and the top rank? How do you do that? How do you advance the skills of your leaders to help them to advance in the business? So you need to have a process for leadership development. You need to know exactly how you develop leaders, how you're able to give them the knowledge, how you're able to teach them the knowledge, how you're able to get them to take action on the knowledge. So all of these things is in the leadership development. Now, this is not everything. We got 2 more to go. The next one is, we all think that it's going to be really simple to just get leaders to, step up and do the action. But what we often find is they need a planning and tracking process to stay accountable to their goals. And if you have a very clear planning and tracking process for your team members, for example, you give them a specific DMO of what they need to do to achieve a specific income rank, then it becomes really easy for them to achieve that. So for example, if for $1,000 a month, this is how many people they have to speak to per day, this is how much they have to prospect, this is what they have to do, then they can plan for that. And not only that, you can provide an accountability process. How do they track it? How do they report back to you? And how do you troubleshoot all that? It taps into the coaching process as well. So the next process is planning and tracking. And then the last but not least, and this is my favorite, is of course the event process. And events in your business, I hope you all still agree that these are the lifeblood of the business. Sometimes people say, new blood is lifeblood in the business. I think it's the events. They are the real pillars of success in network marketing. Literally every single month, in every single country around the world, we have events in network marketing with tens and tens of thousands of people. And they're the ones creating momentum. And if you've been to an event, you know how important that is. Now, when I say a process for events in your business, that actually means you need to have the clarity, what is the progression of events, like going from the smallest to the biggest event, weekly, monthly, quarterly, yearly convention. What is it that you do in your team and in your business? So you need to have an event process. And the reason you do that is because that's what creates momentum. If you've ever heard of our Q momentum process, it's actually a process of using events to create massive momentum in your business. Now, once you've created this one path, and the 5 areas in network marketing that need processes, and again, this is not a massive planning thing. You can get this done again, maybe in an hour or 2, and be really clear on what you're doing. The key is, are you doing just one thing in each of these areas? Or are you doing 7 different options? And so people in your team are really confused of what to do every single time they come across any of these things. So choose one thing. And if you want our help to help you plan the process, then sometimes we have an opportunity to do a few free strategy sessions. And if you've been following us for a while and you're curious, how we would actually step in and help you plan in your business, then look at the link below, comment below. I'm sure there's a link somewhere close to this video, and go ahead and apply for a free strategy session with us, and we will help you plan your strategy. Now, not just that. If you really feel you enjoyed these videos, go ahead and share them with your team. And I look forward to the third step, the fourth video in this 4-part video series, which is going to be all about using the process to create a system. So I hope to see you in the next step, and see you again soon.